Uh, so Tejas, how would you like to introduce yourself to the viewers who do not know, like who you are, what do you do, and in what industry do you belong?
Okay, so I'd introduce my company because that is at a higher position, and I'm just making sure that it's functioning properly, and the startup is able to help to the people that we want to cater to. So my name is Tejas Pawani. I'm an architect, and we opened this co-working space this year in February
Okay.
because we were assessing how bigger companies are, looking at their fixed assets and their premises, and also the gig economy is taking a huge leap because everyone is now, able to work from their laptops and use internet to share information. So there was a lot of talk about co-working coming to India because in India there's a mindset of people to have their own space.
Yeah.
They prefer having something of their own rather than sharing it with someone. So that is what is the common mindset of people in India, and also a lot in tier 2, tier 3 cities. Of
Yeah.
course, in metro cities, in tier 1 cities, people are a lot more progressive thinking, and they understand what are the opportunities that a co-working space can offer to them other than having just a physical space. So in Baroda, we got to know that there were a couple of people who were giving out shared spaces.
Yeah.
But what I understood as co-working to be, and what all targets it should hit. I pitched this to a real estate company, and they had physical space. They thought this was a great idea, and they also wanted to be someone who are promoting entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
uh, which is growing day by
Yeah.
day in India. Like people, everyone is now looking to how America became America because they have this American dream of everybody doing something or the other and contributing and getting something out of it. So they collaborated. We put up this space. We are situated in the business district of Baroda, which is this Sarabhai compound near Center Square Mall opposite Vadodara Center. And this building that we have our co-working space put into is a very corporate ecosystem because we have a lot of multinational companies here from Deloitte, KPMG, Numerator. So the idea of bringing the co-working space here was that whoever other than corporates
Yeah.
is going to use this space get to feel what the corporate environment is like, because although there might be a lot of pros and cons about how corporates work, there are some things that we should always take from it: the way they work, their discipline, their conduct in how they conduct with others. So we thought that whenever someone would enter this building, they would come into that vibe, that kind of a mindset. Okay, now I'm at a place where serious work gets done. So if I'm work,
Organizational structure.
yes, yes, yes. Because as soon as you enter the building, it's always about, see, as an architect, I can talk about how spaces affect your mind. So whenever you
Yeah.
enter such kind of a building, uh, there's a certain change of mood in your approach.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting in a cafeteria, you'll always have a vibe of a cafeteria, and that will also reflect on how you're working. So
Yeah.
there's a survey done where in cafeteria, of course, people approach cafeterias and work from cafeterias because it's an easy way to get into,
Yeah.
and there is furniture set up, there's air conditioning, there's always a chance of getting a cup of coffee. But there's a survey that which say that you can only answer to emails and look at your emails at a cafeteria. You
Yeah.
cannot actually sit and work there.
Yeah.
So with this advent of co-working space, which is also taken into consideration of people who, because there's a large chunk of freelancers who work from cafeterias,
Yeah.
but they always have this issue of maybe productivity is not that much as much we would have wanted, but they never had any other option. So
Yeah.
there was never a complaint from them because they knew, okay, how else would we work from, or where would we work from?
Yeah.
But someone like WeWork, like who's actually put this. WeWork is a global brand of
I know
co-working
them. Yeah, I know
spaces.
them. Yeah.
Correct. So someone like them put co-working in that kind of a nature on the map,
Yeah.
and people started to recognize that everybody has internet, everybody's checking on Instagram or on Pinterest, so everybody knows, okay, offices like these are coming up and we
Yeah.
want them. So
Yeah.
what do? They ask their employers, they ask their companies, okay, we would have loved to work somewhere in some kind of this setup. So now they are taking into consideration because they are dependent, everybody is interdependent now. You cannot say the boss is the boss. If
Yeah.
the worker is not going to work, the boss is like helpless. So they're
Yeah.
also taking into consideration what the employees, and as a matter of fact, they say that 2020-24 India is going to be the youngest country in the world with the workforce of the millennials and Gen Z. And if they are going to be the majority part of the people who are going to work, we will have to address their needs.
Yeah, true.
Okay, you cannot give them cubicles or the 1990s or 80s setup of working. They will not come. They will
Yeah,
do it from their home. And if they can do it from their home, what companies would like is to develop a corporate culture, company culture.
yeah,
It's
true.
easy. It's easy to work from home. You can work. But then a company always has its kind of philosophy that they want to, get into their employees. They would
Yeah,
want them to be that way. They want people to talk that way. So that is why physical spaces are important. As
yeah,
much as COVID-19 has made companies, think about their fixed assets or reduce their dependence on the overhead costs, they will, of course, there will be a solid consolidation of people of real estate. Like some companies in the middle tier would actually think of letting go of their physical spaces, because compared to what they would pay in a co-working space, that is a little heavier on their balance sheet. So
yeah,
that, of course, that will happen in the post-COVID era. But work from home, as it's my personal opinion, that will not sustain as much, because there are already complaints. There are articles in newspaper, everybody sharing their experiences. We are not equipped with a very professional kind of a bandwidth of broadband, or I have my brother, sister, their children.
yeah,
It's impossible. For the 2 months that
yeah,
we had to be at home, work from home was the best option. But
yeah,
as soon as things will start coming to normal, you would want to get back to the office space, because as much as you hate your office, you cannot live without it.
yeah,
There are employees who complain, oh, I have to go to office, but it's a relationship that they don't want to quit.
yeah,
So it's a great time now for companies to rethink their spaces. So this 2 months of time, and one more month, if they would rearrange, rejig their spaces, it would be somewhere people would want to come,
yeah,
because now the customers will come from a position of fear and skepticism.
yeah.
It won't be about, okay, chalo ऐसा है तो इधर ऐसा नहीं होगा.
Hmm.
Everything is prone to viruses now.
Yeah,
How much of a bigger company you are or a smaller company you are. So they will always come in a position of fear and skepticism. So there has to be change.
yeah,
So what we have done here, we were quite new, and still, if we got a chance to implement rules, guidelines that we've got from the Home Ministry, and also the other thing that talks are going about is that we are rethinking about de-densifying, or the densification of spaces.
yeah,
The co-working space, since it's monetized on every inch of space, every
yeah,
inch you convert into a table is monetized.
yeah,
So for a co-working space to think of profitability or make money, they have to have designers who make best use of spaces. But in the post-COVID era, that kind of a mindset is not going to get them members,
yeah,
because you would want a good 6 feet, 5 feet distance between two people. you
yeah,
know so now making every inch convert into money will have to take a back seat, and
yeah,
they will have to put their ambition, their vision of serving people, or smaller teams ahead of that.
true.
So we've done that. We've made alternate seats available, so
Yeah,
that whoever's come has the confidence of, okay, I'm going to be at a distance, because they don't know who the next person is.
yeah,
In a company, you would know your co-workers, but here you're going to build relations. So the
yeah,
initial time, that buffer period until they get to know each other, they're going to be okay, I have to maintain safe distance, and so we're making sure that that happens.
yeah,
And also we are using our common spaces to put signages or information about how things they can do outside, as well as they can do in the co-working space, so that it's when it's always in front of your eye, you make sure, okay, if my mask is down, okay, I have to put it back, or maybe it's time for me to sanitize my hands. So that's how we are doing our bit in the
mm,
co-working
yeah.
industry space.
And continuing to a point that you said, that not everyone is feasible for work from home. I read this point wherein they say that work from home is great only on the pretext that you have a big home wherein you can convert a complete room into an office. So that is like your proper
Correct.
working space inside your home. And to be very precise, not everyone can afford that kind of luxury. Like, not everyone can separate out one complete room in their house and say that, okay, this is my office inside my home. And that's even
Correct.
when work from home becomes great, but only for the top tier 5% employees who have the salary package to build an extra room inside their homes to create an office space. But for the rest, they need a community area to go and work to get that office vibe. So yeah, that
Correct.
one point I agreed with. Um, also, I wanted to address another question, which was that I want to ask you about who all people actually use co-working spaces. I know for a fact that it is the freelancers who do that. I know for a fact that it is the student crowd who actually want to start out some ventures. So they are the second category of people. I know for a fact that these are big companies who want to expand to newer locations. So they do not, initially go out and buy real estate. They try out using cafeterias and co-working spaces and all. So I know about these three segments. Do you know about any more? Like apart from these three, are there any other kind of people who actually use co-working spaces?
Yeah. Okay. So, of course, co-working started, to address the quintessential startup era that started in India.
Yeah.
Like, pay by you use or plug and play services, and all of it made the co-working start as it started. But, in the years, I guess 2013 is where India actually started, bringing up co-working space in their truest sense. So, but, if you look at the percentage and the graph pie chart, least number of freelancers and remote workers use co-working space. A majority chunk of co-working spaces are actually occupied by corporates.
Okay.
So of course it is appealing by the nature of it. It is something that appeals to the creative professionals. But when it comes to use it, so there are a lot of corporates and small medium industries companies there. The reason is that not all co-working spaces are equipped or have a chunk of their space which can actually cater to the needs of freelancers or creative professionals.
Yeah.
Of course, you have a vibe created, but if a cost of a desk is going to be something 50% of what the freelancer is earning,
Yeah.
they will never come and buy it.
True.
So correct. So more and more spaces are now coming up with smaller hot desks.
Yeah.
So we have here, so I'll take this opportunity to, say how we have done this. So we have 3 sections in our co-working space. One are private cabins, which can be taken up by companies or, managerial positions or corporates who would actually want their own privacy, when they talk, when they discuss big numbers. Okay, so that is suitable to them. So this can be useful for them. Then we have dedicated desk. Now, a dedicated desk is like a proper workstation. It's like a 4 feet table with a soft board, a drawer, a filing cabinet, and a locker. So that would be for someone who would not want a cabin, who is okay working outside, but they would pay for that kind of a setup, a serious setup.
Something
so
like
whatever the price of that. So yeah, that something like that, like that. Who would want to seriously do it? So that option would be feasible for someone who is not looking for a cabin. But the third option that we have is of a smaller cafe-like desk.
Yeah.
Okay, which you can just pull up. It's by the window, and you have a colorful chair. So that setup we've made it available for anybody who wants to come and use it for an hour, maybe, or a week. That way. And the pricing of that is quite similar to how you would have them in cafeterias.
Understood.
The only difference that is there, here you'll get a professional environment, you get good Wi-Fi, you can always use the meeting room to meet with your client for whom you're working. So whenever they enter such a space, they would always feel, okay, the one who I've given work to, works seriously or works in a professional environment, is giving me too much importance by calling me somewhere here rather than some cafeteria. So all of that can matter too much to someone who's going to occupy a hot desk.
Yeah.
So more and more co-working spaces should come up with such spaces. Then the chart will have a bigger pie of freelancers and creative professionals.
Yeah, but
so,
continuing to this point which you said about hot desks, I have seen the reviews of a lot of freelancers who say that, dude, co-working spaces are great. Like, we really enjoy the vibe of the place. But the only problem they face is that a lot of co-working owners, they go too much into the aesthetics of the thing. They go too much into the amenities that, we will have a printer, we will have probably a meeting room, a boardroom, etc., etc. And a lot of these freelancers say that, dude, we just need a desk. Like, we don't need your printer, we don't need your coffee machine, we don't need your meetings room and all. And all these freelancers generally want every co-working space to have these tiers, as you mentioned, that a separate tier for the corporates, a separate tier for single employees, and a separate
independent workers.
Independent workers, yeah, exactly. And a separate tier for freelancers, because they don't want that the money that they're paying for that one chair also includes the cafe machine, also includes the meeting room and all. And that's why a lot of freelancers have been focusing on. So continuing to this segment, in your opinion, so I'll give you a live example. If a person starts out like fresh out of college, starting out with freelancing, on an average, he would get anywhere around 5 to 7K per month, and that is a very optimistic figure. That is, but
Yeah.
let's keep this bracket that he will start earning by 5 to 7K per month. According
Correct.
to you, with that context, how much should that freelancer be charged for a seat that he's occupying in a co-working space? Like just the seat. He's not using any of the other amenities. He's just using that much physical area, that is the seat, and the Wi-Fi setup for the internet connection. That's it. Like, how much should he be charged for that?
See, for someone like someone you are talking about, there are two things. Either people start with the aim of growing at a rapid pace and first investing in themselves. And when someone comes with that kind of a thought, they would always pay more initially. Of course, they would have saving. They would ask their parents for money or something like that. And say, okay, if I'm going to have my workstation to be a focused one, so maybe initially my earnings are say 7K, whatever you're saying. But
Yeah.
actually, if I have my own milestone graph, then I would want a proper workstation.
Yeah.
So okay, so that kind of a person can always opt for a desk. Otherwise, the only reference or comparison that another sector is something like a cafeteria. Okay, you go to a cafeteria because you have to get out of your home. So
Yeah.
the only other place that I believe they would go to work from is a cafeteria. So okay, you go to a cafeteria, you have to kind of buy a cup of coffee, right?
Yeah.
So a cup of coffee would cost you around say anything between 150 to 300,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
And you would stay there for maximum 3 hours for one cup of coffee, because of course if you're just buying one cup of coffee and you're going to sit the entire day, someone from the counter is going to come and ask, are you really going to order something else, or something like that, because of course everybody's thinking about how their space is going to be used. So in that case, I would just say about my co-working space. My co-working space has an option similar to how a cafeteria will have, based on the number of hours they sit.
Yeah.
So if they're going to sit for 2 hours, for 3 hours, there is a price for that, which is comparable to something in a cafeteria.
Yeah.
Okay, so now
Understood.
they have to choose between the environment because they're going to pay the same amount of price.
Yeah. Understood.
Okay, and I don't think there's anything lesser than something you pay in a cafeteria, because of course you would want a nice chair, nice environment, nice set of lights. So
Yeah.
in that case, there will be my co-working space has a similar option for them to come and work from, but in a professional environment, in a good grade of Wi-Fi, and the meeting room we are giving as an add-on.
Yeah.
Meeting room is an
Understood.
add-on even for others, for a cabin or a desk also. We are charging for the real estate that they are going to occupy, and for all the setups and all the hassle that we're taking away from them, because they don't have to go and pay their electricity bill. They don't have to go and find an internet service provider, or ask him to come with the router, fix it. Oh, there is a problem, I have to call, my work has stopped. We're taking away that hassle from them. So there are a lot of intangible factors that we are giving to our members, which they need to understand whenever they're paying a price.
Yeah. Understood.
So that's how co-working space can be useful.
Okay. Now, so all these questions were from the consumer's point of view. Now let's take you back to the business point of view of co-working spaces. So if listening to this podcast, someone gets motivated that, dude, I'm also going to set up a co-working space of my own.
Okay.
How much initial investment do you need to have in your pocket even to dream of doing so?
See, co-working spaces started from garages when they started,
Okay.
no? So someone who had a community of people who had friends, so they started in a garage.
Okay.
Okay. So there is from the lowest possible expenditure to extremely capital intensive. Some
Okay.
co-working spaces are built out at such expensive prices with such plush furniture that there is no limit to how much you can spend in a co-working space. Because
Understood.
it depends on to making everything beautiful rather than
Understood.
focusing only on function.
Yeah.
But then since it's shared, people can think of doing that, because if it's only one company centric, they will understand, okay, I don't want anything fancy because my employees would not want it. But
Yeah.
since it's a public thing, there is no limit on how you can make a co-working space fancier.
Yeah.
So if anybody who's listening to this podcast would want to convert any of their spaces into a co-working space, I guess the primary reason to make a co-working space is to actually have a community,
Yeah.
actually have a set of people who want to come and work from. So
Yeah.
if that is there, you can always start with something. And then in co-working space, you have this advantage of communication, and then together you can make it beautifuler and fancier. However,
Yeah.
the people who are working there would want. If they
Understood.
don't want it and you put money into it, it's waste of money. So they should not forget. They should not forget that the primary reason a co-working space concept work is there should be people who want to come and work from there, rather than they would be focused on their laptop and their work, their notes and everything. That they would only say, okay, I have an ergonomic chair, I have a table to put my laptop on, and I have a place to come. That is all that is primary. Everything else you do is like a wishful thing.
Yeah.
You know.
So basically, basically what you're trying to convey is that ask the people who would be being your future customers. Like before you set up into any location, go and take a survey of the people around there. What do they want? Do they want a very fancy office? Do they want just a basic setup or something?
Correct. If they're hiring a designer has to make it basic. Outlook should be something where someone would want to come.
Yeah, it should not look
so that
pathetic.
much they have to do.
Yeah, it should not look pathetic. It should not look pathetic.
Yeah, it should not look drab. It's not like people are poor and were coming here and working. No, everybody is a professional. Co-working space in Bombay are occupied by Filter Copy, Scoop Whoop, OK, all right, and all of these people, even though they're making YouTube videos, I think that is also now, I guess, a primary work thing, because companies put their advertisements on YouTube videos. So you cannot consider this is like a proper work and this is not a proper work. Everything now. So, I missed out answering your question that who uses a co-working space. I guess everybody, even a painter, even an artist can come here with his canvas, find the open space, put his canvas there, spend a couple of hours, draw, paint, whatever, go back. There can be a RJ who can come here, who can take interviews of anybody whose movie is releasing. So they can use the common lounge area to set up a meeting. How we see in podcasts. They have a fancy setup of a couch and a table, and they have a mic set. So we had one such interview taken place here, and I was so glad that spaces like these can be used for anybody.
Yeah.
Going to a hotel and finding a fancy setup is not possible. So co-working space, when you can pay by the hour, you can use a fancy setup for all of that. So from anybody who's taking an interview, or an artist or a photographer who wants to come and edit his photographs, or somebody who's making corporate videos, to a proper lawyer, advocate, all of them can use a co-working space.
Understood.
So that flexibility, I guess, is very appealing.
Understood.
And you also find work. If I'm a startup and if some chartered accountant is working here, I'll go and ask for his help, and maybe he would get work from me, and my headache of my accounts is being taken care of. So everybody even gets some kind of work here around. Or I'm a graphic designer, some company asks me to make posters for them, or make ads for them, do SEO, do digital marketing. Everything can happen here.
Yeah, and I wanted to dig deep into this point which you just touched right now, that how much is networking a part of co-working space, just for the fact that under one roof are many people associated with many different companies working, like just under a single roof. So how much does that add up to your networking skills, like you meeting new people? You just gave a brief about it, that okay, it can help you, but like what else?
See, I've worked in Bombay for a couple of years, and I know Bombay has a culture where you can actually speak to anybody. Nobody's going to think twice before talking or striking up a conversation. And also places like Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi, they have such places where you can actually go and socialize from. Okay, so there you can talk to anybody. But I think in Gujarat, I think people come out for work. Otherwise, they're at home, or they do their own thing in a certain group only. So I have a set of friends who I go to movies with, or I go to cafeterias with. I'm not ever talking to anybody else randomly.
My close ones.
So, other than them, I'm not talking to anybody. I would not talk to just someone sitting next to me. So what co-working spaces pose opportunity are, if you're coming out of your home and coming to a place like this, and there's someone next to you who's been there for a week, you wouldn't mind striking up a conversation. Is your internet working? And that's how something would start. What's happening, or did you read about this? So co-workers are very important. Plus, networking is something that people are also seeking outside their work. They're attending BNI. They're attending BNI just to get some company know them. So they're paying money for networking. So here you're not actually paying money for networking, but you get networking automatically. So this is something that co-working space has addressed without it being a need.
And I really like that familiarity point, that maybe if tomorrow, let's say, we meet for the first time in an office or something, it would be a real friction for me to walk up to you and ask for something, that how's your weather, or how's the internet going and all. But if we are sitting, let's say, around the same desk for about a week now, there is a sort
Yeah,
of
yeah,
familiarity that gets touched, that okay, I know this guy, I've seen him from the past 7 days.
yeah.
he,
Correct,
he
correct,
comes at
correct.
this time, he opens his laptop, he uses this model of laptop. So there is a sense of familiarity which then boosts my probability of.
Yeah, that helps breaking the
Yeah,
ice.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I
correct.
really, I had not thought of that point, but that was really nice. So next I wanted to ask you was that, once again, from the co-working business point of view, that uh, like, co-working right now is a buzzword, like everyone is speaking about it, especially corona has given a very big boost to the industry as a whole. As in, I'm
Right.
not talking about the revenues, but I'm talking about the word being out, the word of mouth spreading, that
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
this as an industry exists. Now I want to ask you is that, in every industry there is a lag time. Now, what this lag time essentially means is that there is a certain number of years. You can tell there are X years, and this is the
Hmm.
gap between the product being heard in the market, like people are talking about it, and people actually using it. So the difference
Correct.
between this point A to point B is certain number of years. For few industries, it's 2 years, it's 5 years, it's 10 years. Co-working spaces has definitely reached a stage wherein people are talking about it. I'm not sure
Right.
whether it has reached point B wherein it has become the mainstream source of
Hmm.
work wherein everyone is paying for it and all. But according to you, how much is the lag time? I mean, how much would be the lag time in the co-working industry? Like right now, people know about it, people are talking about
Hmm.
it. But
Hmm.
if I wanted to ask you the precise question, where do you put numbers to? Like 2022, 2024, what would be the year wherein co-working would be the mainstream? Like if I get out of my colony, I meet four uncle on the way who are going to their co-working spaces. That is called mainstream. So how much do you think
Understood.
are we waiting for that?
I think co-working is not something new in the metro cities. Everybody knows about it, and
Yeah,
everybody always has, A and B, have my own space for co-working right from the beginning of
yeah,
their startups.
yeah.
But I can talk about Baroda. I can talk about Baroda. I've been doing this co-working marketing advertising. I've been hosting people who come here, inquiring about what co-working is about, how do you go about it, and everything. So I think so. I can only say, as a business point of view, as a startup, I would say, I wouldn't say, I wouldn't even use business because it's a little heavier term. As a startup, I think at around 1 year you have to give to your startup to reach from A to B.
Okay.
I think that is acceptable 1 year, and it also depends. And if it takes more than 1 year, I think there is some kind of a lacuna in you putting the word out there, because
Yeah,
I guess 1 year is also being very generous. It should
yeah,
be like 2-3 months now with Facebook advertising everybody on their mobile phones all the time. If you are not putting out an ad there or making people aware about co-working and it being on their mobile devices, I think there is some kind of issue. So just in a general term, I guess 1 year you should give yourself, so that you are not stressed out or burned out. Okay, okay, shit, yeah, I'm not, making progress, or people have not, started to join the space. So I guess 1 year is a good time just to put a specific number out there. And within 1 year, even for a place like Baroda, it should be good enough time for people to know or go visit some of these spaces, do a research on the web, see what people are offering outside, what they're getting in Baroda, and probably come and sign up.
yeah.
Because it's
Understood.
there is no rocket science in choosing a co-working space. It's like paying for what you're using. You
Yeah,
would either buy your own space, furnish it out, find everything and do. And if you think that is too much for you, you would have an option like a co-working space where you come and work.
yeah. Understood.
So it's not something very difficult, or it's not like a product you have to use or have a medical test done. Is it good? Is it bad? It's the most basic requirement, and
Understood.
it's what you see, what you're going to use. There is nothing hidden here.
Yeah.
So I
But
guess that's
yeah,
what.
continuing to this question, like I get your point, what you said about 1 year thing, but I have a question, which is that you might be knowing that, I don't quote me on the numbers, but somewhere in the 1990s or somewhere, there was a very big mall, and it was the first of the kind created in Baroda. And that mall, for the first time, I think so, in Gujarat, that mall for the first time had gotten escalator steps.
All
So
right.
that was the first mall somewhere in the 1990s that got the real escalator thing in Gujarat, and that being in Baroda. What happened was that that mall was mainly into FMCG goods, like, vegetables, fruits, and also all your products and all.
Okay.
But right now, if you look at it, that is the mainstream. Like, anyone wants to buy any commodity, they straight up go to some mall, Reliance Fresh or any other mall, and they pick up things because they know it's cheap over there, because they buy in bulk and all. Back in the day, people were clueless about, what is this escalator thing, what is this, why are we going into such a big institution just to buy a small thing like a vegetable or a packet of food and all.
Right.
That business was great, that model was great, that structure of a mall with an escalator was great, but it was ahead of its time. That mall had to shut down, it went out of business. 5 years, 7 years after that incident happening, that thing became the
Mhm.
norm. Right now,
Right.
everyone in Baroda frequently visits mall to buy their goods and all.
Mhm.
Do you think, in any chances, is co-working as a business ahead of its time, especially in a city like Baroda? Like, I'm not talking about the metros, because there obviously it will touch
Mhm.
its break even if a few
Mhm.
customers come and pay. But in tier 2, tier 3 cities, not specifically Baroda, but I'm talking about all the tier 2, tier 3 cities, do you think it is still an ahead of its time business, like, in any way?
See, when you talk about a business being ahead of its time, it has to be taken into a totality of metros, tier one, tier two, anyway, because everything is available. Like you told me yesterday, that everything is available on a click of Google.
Yeah,
So to say it's ahead of its time and in a city specific way would be wrong. The only thing is awareness.
yeah,
What tier two, tier three cities don't have is awareness. So business is quite outdated. I wouldn't say that co-working is like a new thing,
yeah,
because somebody would have someone in a metro city who's using that service, and they would know about it, but they wouldn't know in depth about it.
yeah,
Okay, he goes to a co-working space. You heard it because it doesn't matter to you. You don't dig deep and want to know more, but you're aware of it.
yeah,
Everybody is aware of it. So in other way, there must have been government institutions who would have, give such shared spaces to industries who are based in the industrial development area, who just have manufacturing spaces but who do not have proper meeting spaces. So
yeah,
there should be government institutions in every city where industrialists would take up a space to meet a bigger entity to pitch them a product or get business from them. So
yeah,
shared workspaces have been there. Co-working is the same thing packaged in a new way,
yeah,
and which appeals more to millennials, Generation Z, and the ones who are aware of design and believe aesthetic is important.
yeah,
So I would say that it's just awareness in tier two, tier three cities that has to be done, rigorously. There should be hammer marketing. Someone has to take up the cause of co-working and make it reach to the people.
understood.
More and more newspapers and podcasts and interviews like you should, actually. I'm so glad you're doing this so
Yeah,
that it may in some way reach to people. Or there should be newspaper articles, bloggers who should come to us and make this a hot topic and put it out there, because people follow bloggers and that's how they would know something new is happening.
yeah, got
So
it.
that is required. Everyone has to come together to make this, because it's for everybody.
Yeah,
Co-working space, it's not like my company is a specific service provider company and I'm asking a blogger to come and promote it. No, whatever she's going to do, she can do it from here. A
yeah,
blogger can come and write blogs here, and also her blog could bring other people come here. So whatever you're doing is like, it's like a social service, I guess, more
yeah,
like a community service. The co-working spaces are, of course, when it's brought in business, it will look at making money or investing again and making it a solid model rather
yeah,
than just being something which is like a non-profit. It's not like a non-profit thing, but it is something to be taken into consideration. So
understood.
awareness, I guess, is important in tier two, tier three cities, and everybody's using highest model of cars. Everybody's using fanciest of mobiles. So there is nothing that is left to reach to tier two, tier three cities with the digital media and internet.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be
But
something.
over here, so two things. Number one, I really like that blogger's point of view. What you said was that if tomorrow a blogger comes and covers your space, that okay, this guy is running this co-working space, it's for sure good for you because your space is getting covered in the media and all. but it
Right.
is also good for the industry as a whole, because people would get the general sense that okay, co-working spaces as a thing exists, and as much as benefit it would do to you, it
Right.
would do a benefit to all the other players as well, because their
Right.
model would also get boosted. So that's something which I really like. But about the money part of you, there's a major difference between someone being aware about something and someone purchasing that thing, and I'll explain you
Hmm.
how. Yesterday, I was recording a podcast with a writer, an author, and she said something around the lines of, so we were discussing about this thing that people taking up books and pirating them online, pirated copies and all, and people actually downloading them for free and reading. We were talking something around the lines of that. She said something which was that people really respect authors, people genuinely respect the work that they do, but people, especially in India, are not that much concerned with paying the authors for their work. Like, they genuinely like the work that they are doing, but even if they have the money, even if they have 500 rupees in their pocket, they would prefer spending it on a movie rather than a book, just for the per se that book to free mein bhi mil jayega. And who invests on a book? Because book, once you read it, it gets over. So there is this mentality in the book segment as a
Hmm.
whole. Do you think that awareness to consumer wala theory, that people are aware about the co-working space, but still they are not willing to pay for it, that is still something that can put it ahead of its time right now? Like, I get the point that you said that people need the hammer marketing concept, that it needs to be put out, the word needs to be there, but just on the fact that it's not still there, like the marketing is
Hmm.
not getting done till now. Do you think, like, even by 6 months or 12 months, it's still ahead of its time?
See, the awareness and consuming the product, the onus lies on the one who's actually providing the service. So if people are not buying my product, there has to be some shortcoming from my end that they're not buying it. Okay, either I'm not elaborate with what I'm saying or promoting, or maybe my pricing is high, or maybe I'm not delivering as much I'm talking about. So I guess to get that is how that is what separates entrepreneurs from other people,
Yeah,
that they make something happen.
yeah,
They'll do every bit of work to get their thing out there, done, consumed, or taken as a
yeah.
service.
But
So then maybe I should
yeah,
change my offers. Maybe I should collaborate with a platform uh, which can have a reach of a multiple number of people. Just take an
yeah,
example of the
I
author
got it.
thing. Okay. Huh, yeah.
Yeah, I
So
got it.
if
But
you need me to
uh,
elaborate.
yeah, I need you to elaborate, but on a specific tone, which is that you said that as entrepreneurs, that distinguishes you from businessmen. That you fight the spirit, you actually overcome the
Hmm,
challenges and
hmm,
all.
hmm.
But I would tell you a challenge which a lot of co-working entrepreneurs are not able to overcome, and it's not even their fault. Like, this is just the fault of the
Yeah.
market, that it's built in such a way. And that fault is that people generally have this mentality that uh, anything new, like anything on the internet, anything like a co-working space, is generally cheap. Like, for someone who is going out to buy an office space,
Right.
he won't mind paying 25-30 lakhs, because that thing is imbibed in them that real estate is by its very core expensive. If you want to buy real estate, you need to shell out that much amount of money. That thing is not yet instilled in any of the internet products, in any of the things like co-working spaces, because people think that okay, this is a very new thing, so it needs to be done in very less money. That same mentality which people have with
Yeah.
internet advertising. Like, there are companies who won't mind paying crores and crores of rupees on TV advertising, but when it comes to
Hmm.
digital, even spending 10 more lakh rupees, they would think that why is this getting like, because they have a mentality that digital hai to sasta hi hoga. And that is the same
Right.
mentality which I think is there in the co-working market. And beyond a point, you cannot reduce your prices, because you need to
Of
sustain your
course.
business, right? So how
Right.
do you fight this mentality? Because consumers come with a very imbibed mentality that just because this is a co-working space, I'm going to get
Hmm.
a desk for a very small rate. And as much as you try to make that rate very
Hmm.
small, you cannot go beyond a point. Like, you need to meet your ends. So how do you
Right.
fight
Right.
this
Right.
mentality? Because this does not even come into your entrepreneur fighting mentality. This is something very basic.
Basic. Yeah. So I guess you also need to understand maybe your service is not for everybody. Everybody can come here and ask about it, but it's not for everybody. But that should not make you stop cutting the narrative to everybody.
Yeah,
So someone with the narrative will join, will come on board. Someone will not.
Yeah.
So what we as a so one, our product also has to be rational. Of course, if they're giving a fancier table, that doesn't mean that we tell them कि okay, आप अगर table लगाते तो आप तो normal कोई लगा देते, हम तो आपको ऐसा table दे रहे हैं. No, that is my choice of having what kind of furniture that I want. The service, the price has to be comparable. I can actually give anybody who's coming here an analysis of how much you would pay in your own office and how much you would pay here eventually, and how it's going to save your cost.
Yeah.
I can put a pie chart, or I can put a histogram or something and make them understand. This month you will pay for this, you pay for this, you pay for this. So your monthly expenditure at your own office will be this much. Plus, what you're not considering is that you'll have to do everything by your own self. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm giving all of this here at this price, which is discounted than what you would do on your own. Plus, you don't have to take care of anything.
Yeah.
Every minute of your time that you're going to work is going to be focused on getting yourself better.
Yeah.
Okay. So compare two examples where I have to take care of everything by my own, and I'm putting some amount of time into that. So
Yeah.
that amount that I'm putting into something which is not my business is going to get me lesser growth or success. And against that, if I'm putting my time into working, I'm anywhere earning more per minute, per hour, or per day, and I'm shelving out some part of money into giving it to a co-working space because they're taking care of everything.
Yeah.
So that understanding should also be there.
Yeah.
That if it's not matching your idea of desk का price 2000 है, आप मुझसे 7000 क्यों ले रहे हो या 10000 क्यों ले रहे हो, 12000 क्यों ले रहे हो, तो there is a addition of everything.
Yeah.
Which brings the price of a unit.
Yeah.
I get our narrative has to be clear.
Yeah, but on the same lines, I would like to tell you a short story about something about the consumer mentality in India. Now, a lot of companies abroad, they follow this business model that if we provide some initial value to our customers and they really find it valuable, they would continue to pay us later to get that value afterwards as well. That's a model that's followed internationally everywhere, that they provide you some free value, you get hooked to it, then you pay it, you become a paying customer, they get the business. What a lot of companies have complained is that that model does not work in India, because in India, the consumer mindset is that they take up the free value that you provide. After that, they either try to pirate it or they try to find it alternative. So if you look at Netflix does not provide you less quality content. Even if it is in the free starter pack, even if it's in the Amazon Prime's free starter pack, they provide you the best of the best value. But after finishing a 1 month of free trial, what do you do in return? You find that valuable, but then you go to Telegram, you pirate the entire file, and you watch the series for free. The company provided value to you, but you didn't pay them back. You just pirated the thing. You found out an alternative, and that is a major consumer mentality all across India. Do you think that happens a lot even in the co-working space? Like, as entrepreneurs, you are trying at your level best that I need to provide value to my customer. I need to provide him value for every rupee that he's shelling out. But even after taking all that value, no, he's saying that I can't pay for this. It's not happening. So do you think that consumer mentality kind of harnesses your growth as a businessman?
When you talk about co-working spaces, they have to be set into real estate. So there is nothing that you can do about any kind of a wrongdoing in real estate, because a co-working space has to come up in a real estate. A real estate will have price per square feet, and everything that you're going to furnish it with is going to have a price, and everything else that you provide is also priced.
Yeah.
So there is nothing that is of intellectual property, is just the design and where you're placing it.
Yeah.
So if I have something that I can do, if I can copy without putting my money, I can copy.
Yeah.
And I can, probably pirate it. But here, this is a very solid thing. It's like every bit is tangible. Yeah. So what would you do? Someone would price it lesser. Someone would price it higher, depending on how much they want to achieve from the co-working space. Yeah. So I think that is only going to be a difference. Otherwise, nobody's going to put their money and make their business successful just for the sake of them being known as a more occupied co-working space. That's not how business work, right? Yeah. I'm not going to put my money so that people would come and work, and then Baroda is talking about, oh, this has the maximum occupancy. But when you ask me, it's not feasible for me.
Yeah.
So since this is set in real estate, there cannot be anything you can do a wrongdoing and make it better or reach out. Yeah. So that is the better part of this startup. that it's as rock solid as the real estate is. You can have a building, you can have a flat for 2 crores, and you can also have a flat for 25 lakh rupees. Depends on the consumer. You have that kind of an appetite of 2 crore rupee. You go there. You know why you're spending 2 crore, because you want something that the 2 crore is offering. But if you don't, even if you want 2 crore but you don't have the financials, but you do need a space, you will always go with the 20 lakh space, and try and make it something which makes you feel good. So that's how people juggle between what they want, their aspirations, what they can get. So they come in the midway. They are extremely practical. They address their problem, their need, and get done with it, because you would always want better and better and better.
Yeah. And a good part about real estate is that even if you advertise on 100 people and 99 leave, that one customer would cover the expenses of all 100. Like, that's what I've heard, that real estate has good margins. I don't know how far it's true, but
I'm not an expert of real estate, so I would not comment on that. But they have, the real estate is a totally different kind of a cloud. If you get into it, you would know the nitty-gritty nuances of it. Otherwise, from a distance, it looks, yes, it's the best thing to be in or to do, but it has a lot of things below the ground that we do not know about that actually make it pricier. So that's how real estate works. As a designer, if I'm working on a project, I know what a builder or an institution goes through to get something up, and whatever they charge it is actually practical and rational, because what they've gone through, which is not visible to the consumer, is something that they've only faced, and that is why they price it that much, and that is why the real estate is sustaining. No building can make it fancy and give it for cheaper price, because it is not practical. Same, the bottom line is the same. People have put something into it. They are trying to make some money out of it, which has to be acceptable by someone, and there should be a general norm everybody is following, so that it doesn't seem out of place.
Understood. So ending this podcast with the last question. You have been through the entire session, you have answered the questions. If you wanted to convey to someone why they need to watch this entire 1 hour episode, if you need to convey that message to someone in just a minute, what would you say? Like, what will someone learn out of listening this entire 1 hour conversation?
I guess this 1 hour conversation will be, even if they don't want to join a co-working space or not, I think it has been quite informative in terms of how people's psychology revolves around a service and a product. This is something people should be equipped with, to know what people are offering, how they come into, we've also talking about entrepreneurship. It seems a very fancy word, but everybody somewhere or the other has this smallest of, dream to do something by their own, be their own bosses, and get into the hustle, even if it's going to take some time. But if you're loving what you're doing, it's worth it. It's totally worth it. It helps you sleep sounder in the night, and it also makes you motivated to come to wherever you are coming or going. So I think this conversation that we've had is quite informative, and it'll give them an insight about a different sector of real estate that is booming and will grow in the coming years. And since it is for everybody, like we spoke about, it's not just for a company to come, it's for any smallest of freelancer who has a big impact, but the billables of that are of a smaller number compared to a bigger company, can also come and share it with someone who's doing a very big thing out there. So you can be on the same square foot area and share each other's experiences, and this is the fun thing to be in co-working space. So whatever we spoke about will make them think, okay, maybe I should go and try. And you don't have to sign up for a lease of 6 years, pay a 6-month deposit. You come, you work for the day, you work for a week, you get the vibe of it, you like it, you think it's something I want to come out of my home and be at, or this is going to give me an opportunity to meet someone different in my own city, or plan with them, have a co-worker. So I guess this will give them an idea about how it can help them individually. Apart from assuming that it's going to give me a business, leave that aside. It's going to be a lifestyle, a choice that you will make by coming to a co-working space, like you do to a gym or to a say a swimming pool.
I get the
sign up, or a badminton or a squash. This is something that you can come and have fun too while you're working.
I get it.
So I think this is going to help with that.
It was great having a conversation with you. I personally got a lot of insights about the co-working spaces, and thank you so much for having this conversation.
Thank you for having me, Morris.
Yeah.